you unhappy with your drawing style? Are you wishing you drew like someone else? Do you have a particular artist or artist in mind who you wish you could draw like or more like? Do you copy their work, hoping to pick up their style? Are you wanting to change your drawing style to make it more appealing, popular, or commercial? If these are some of the things you're thinking, this may just be a really helpful video for you. So, what's the misconception? And how do we change our drawing style if we really want to? When I'm unhappy with my own drawing style, I usually have at the same time in my mind the drawing style of another artist or artists whose work I wished my drawing style looked more like. Their framing, their composition, the angles they view their subjects from, their line work, the way they render certain subjects or textures. I'm thinking, how come my drawings, how come my line work look like this? And it's a fairly natural step to take to start to copy their line work, to recreate their drawings as a way of, I suppose, assimilating the technique that they use when they draw, to make their technique more my technique. And because we do generally improve at whatever we practice, particularly if we practice conscientiously, if we practice copying the line work, the drawings in effect of other artists, we can actually become quite good at it. But what I've been told over and over again is we can do this, but when we go to create our own drawings from our own reference or thinking or whatever, we still don't know where to start. It hasn't helped me start my own genuinely creative process with a new drawing. In fact, I'm somehow left worse off because I'm now confused and I'm thinking, I just can't do this. I mustn't have what it takes to be an artist. It can be incredibly frustrating and discouraging. And it's because we've misunderstood, it's because of the misconception about where our drawing comes from. You see, because our drawing is made of lines, it's easy to think that our drawing comes from lines. And this very much is not the truth. Our drawings don't come from our lines. Our drawing come from our minds, because our lines come from our minds. When I create an original artwork, there's a process involved. I'm either looking at something in real life, or I'm looking at a photo reference, or I'm looking at something perhaps in my imagination. A somewhat more nebulous, but just as real place and event. And then I have to use lines and whatever other artistic techniques I want to use to in some way create what I'm seeing or thinking onto my paper. And there's a wide variety of techniques, of media, of things I can use. And because they're the things we see at the end, it's easy to overly focus on those and the role they play in the development and establishing of our style, of our drawing style. Putting those lines on the paper is the end process of a process. It's a process that starts and mostly takes place in my mind. I have to choose a subject. I have to decide all those big picture things that I want to draw. What do I want to draw? How do I want to draw it? What will I use to draw it? I need to juggle all the options that I have at my disposal that are practical for me to have at that point to draw. But from all the options of things I could do, I need to make choices about what I will do. So I will draw from this reference, not from that one. I will use ink, not pencil. I'm going to use hatching, I'm not going to use marker tone, whatever. We make choices about the composition, about what we'll draw or how we'll crop or how we'll change the reference or not change the reference. I make choices about how I will represent all the things that I cannot draw, how I will represent textures, how I will represent leaves and trees in the distance, but with lines rather than paint. How do I represent the things that I can't possibly draw? How do I represent things where I can't draw an outline of the object? Or even if I can draw an outline of an object, how will I outline the object in a way that will create the effect that I think will be best for the overall effect of my drawing? Because it's not just individual lines I need to put in place so that they look effective. All those lines together need to combine in a way that creates the scene, the effect I want. So once I've thought through all these things and worked out exactly what I want to do and how I want to do it and what I want in the end result to be, then I pick up my pen and I put it on the paper and I make the marks that I think will take me to that place in the finished drawing when all the marks are piled together into one drawing. I hope you can appreciate how much work has gone on in our minds before we've put the pen on paper, or how much work should have gone on in our minds if we're going to create a good drawing. And it's this thinking that I believe is the truly creative part of the drawing process. Because it comes from my mind, this is the place where distinctiveness of my style comes from. And that doesn't mean that I can't develop it and evolve it and change it. But the places to do that from are in here, because it's in here that I will make the choices that will determine where the lines I put on the paper go and how I will draw them and what I'm trying to achieve at the end by doing that. And I hope you can see when I copy the work of another artist, I get practice at putting those lines on the paper, and I may become very good at it because we get better at what we do over and over again, but it gives me no practice at all at the creative thinking processes, the various stages of working out what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, what I'm trying to do, where I hope to get at the end, what my options are, what choices I will make. Then even observing our reference or searching our mind to find the information that we need to find to then use our technical skills, if you like, to bring into being, to create on our page. I can look at the work of another artist and I can analyze their techniques. I can look at how they've created certain effects and what the impact of those effects are. But what I can't do is I can't from that in itself develop the thought processes, the way of thinking, so that when I'm drawing, I've come down a path that's taken me to, I need to draw this line this way, or I have the option of drawing this line these ways. And I get to choose one. Because, well, unless I've done a course where that artist was the teacher, I'm not usually able to be privy to their thought processes that resulted in those marks on their paper. This is when we want to convey something to someone, we have to think of words, we have to choose words and choose ways of saying our words before we actually then can speak out those words. So when we draw, we're having to have thoughts and make decisions about what marks we will create to, if you like, speak out the artwork we're wanting to create. So if I'm wanting to change my style, concentrating on the style of another artist, focusing on the end result of their thinking processes, generally won't give me what I need to have my drawings look like their drawings. Because by simply copying their marks, I haven't developed the thought processes that they've developed to know what marks to use when. I haven't developed the skills of thinking that I need to, if you like, harness my own natural creativity and channel it into the drawings I want to produce in the way that they have. But the good news is I can actually take control of my creative processes, my creative thoughts, and I can evolve them, I can channel them. But they need to be happening in the first place. And I shouldn't think of changing my drawing style as like somehow screwing up and throwing into the bin everything I've ever done and creating something new. If I'm driving a car, I can take it into a different direction, but the car has to be moving in the first place for me to be able to do that. And if I want to change my drawing style, what I need to do is seek to be controlling and developing my drawing style rather than just randomly drawing. I need to be engaged in the learning process of learning to draw. And if I'm doing that, my car's already driving, and then I can direct it into the direction I want it to go. I can direct it. I can work out thought processes, and I can pick up skills that I need so that I can end up with drawings which are more the drawings I'm wanting to create and that I feel are within me. And can I just say, as an aside, and now that we're outside with the wind having died down, That often when we start drawing, our focus is actually to produce a copy of the thing that we're drawing. Our aim, if we're drawing from a photo, which is usually what happens when we start, our aim is to draw as similar a likeness to our photo as is possible. Can I suggest that as we develop in our artwork, our aim is to produce an artwork that itself, standing alone, can go beyond what the reference was able to do, was able to show. Because as artists, we're not photocopying machines. We actually get to value add to our reference. We get to be inspired by it. We get to base our artwork on it. But we're certainly not bound or limited to it. And I don't think most of the time it's helpful to let ourselves be. We don't develop the full creative processes in our mind if we see detailed reproduction of our reference as our end goal. And remember, when we look at the work of any artist, that they didn't start at what we're looking at that point. That wasn't their start point. For them, this is the end of a process. And if they're older, it's a process that may have taken decades and decades and decades and decades of constant drawing to develop. And their lines have developed over time as their thinking and their thought processes and their aims and goals and possibilities in their head have developed over time. And because this takes time, I do need patience. I need to have patience with a process that, while I can speed up or slow down the process intentionally or unintentionally at different times, will always still be a process, a learning process. And I can't start at the end by grabbing the end product of someone else's process and somehow just trying to stick it onto my drawings at the end. No matter how clever, talented, enthusiastic, or even impatient I might be. Okay, but then how can I change? How can I develop my drawing style? If I'm not happy with how my drawings look, how can I evolve my drawings into something I am happy with? So here are my tips then on how to evolve your drawing style. And the first tip is keep drawing. Keep drawing the subjects you want to be able to draw in the way you want to be able to draw them. Remember, it's easier to take the car to a different direction if the car is still moving. So keep drawing, keep doing what you've been doing as best you can with your own creative process. My second tip is always remember that the creative process starts with the thinking. And in fact, the truly significant and difficult part to develop is in our mind. It is not the skills technique that we actually use and see at the end. And so I need to work hard at giving adequate time and effort and energy into the thinking of the creative process. I have to be probably clearer with what I'm wanting to do and how I'm wanting to do it. I want to have as clear as view as possible how I want my drawings to turn out. Not, oh, I just want a really good drawing. That's too vague. And not a drawing to please other people, because then I never know what I'm trying to produce. But at the start of my thinking process, I need to have as clear a picture as possible as to where I want to end up. I can't master every style all at once, even if I'm interested in lots and lots of different, if you like, genres and subjects and media. I can't improve in all of them at once. So I need to niche down as much as possible, not obsessively so, but generally speaking, I need to niche down so that I can go really deep in a smaller area. I can really improve and hone and develop my skills of thinking as well as drawing, because if I develop deep skills in one area of drawing, I will be able to transfer those deep skills, or high-level skills if you want, into another area of drawing really easily. But if I dabble at lots of different things all the time, I will merely develop very shallow skills in a whole range of things. I've talked about how not to use the work of other artists, but if I want to use the work of other artists to inspire and to somehow contribute or be a part of my own drawing style, how do I do that? Well, I would suggest that you study their drawings and work out what is it about these drawings that I really like, and go beyond the line work, go beyond the obvious, how they draw grass or how they draw trees or the fact that their perspective is always accurate. These are very obvious things, but go further than that and look at how they create the overall effects of their drawing, the way their drawing as a whole works, not just as a series of technical skills put together cleverly. Because while the way they draw trees may be what first attracts you to this artist, the reason you like their work will be far more complex than the more obvious things that caught your eye. So study their drawings. Don't copy their drawings, but study their drawings and do as much analysis of what's impacting you from their drawings as you possibly can. And then put their drawings away. Shut the book, turn over the paper, and get as similar a reference as you can find to their drawings, and then you, in your creative drawing style, draw that similar reference. And as you draw it, seek to use as many of the things you've been thinking about from this other artist's drawing style. Seek to incorporate as many of those as you think are going to be helpful for your drawing of this reference. You can see what I'm saying. You must put out of sight the other drawing, because at every turn it's going to be too easy just to glance at this other artist's solution. What I need to do is to use their finished drawing to help me find my own solution. Because even if I'm guided by the memory of their artwork, their drawing, if I have to work it all out in my head, then it will be my solution. It will be my creative process. And the other artist's technique, their way of doing it, has become one of many factors that I've jumbled around in my head to arrive at whatever solution to that particular drawing issue that I've used. We can think of it as we've used our memory of their line work, incorporated into our thinking, so it becomes part of our line work. But it's actually arrived on the paper through my creative thinking process, and that makes all the difference. I'm now not copying their work. I'm using their work as inspiration for developing my own work. Just as they doubtlessly did, consciously or unconsciously, in their earlier drawing stages. And if we like how this looks in our drawing, we can keep doing it and we can entrench this into our style, or we can develop it further in some way until we arrive at the place not where it looks like the original artist's work, but where our drawing has reached the place that we're wanting it to go ourselves. I'm not using someone else's drawing style to shortcut a creative process. I've incorporated elements of their work into my creative process. And we all do it, consciously or unconsciously. If I want to develop and evolve my drawing style, then I do need to consciously critique my drawing, not just say, oh, I hate it, it's stupid, I'm hopeless, but to look at it and say, what exactly am I not happy about? Because the more exactly I can pinpoint my dissatisfaction with my drawing, then the more accurately I can target the things I'm going to work on. Learning to draw is learning, and learning is always hard work. And here's my last point for how you can develop your own drawing style, and that's trust that you have it within you. Trust that you have both your own unique style and the ability to pull it out of there and put it on paper and create works that you can feel satisfied, express the creative ideas that were swirling around in your head in some way. And trust that developing your own personal style, if you like, your natural way of drawing, will in the end be more satisfying than trying to copy the style of someone else. Sometimes we want to grab someone else's style and draw like them because we're afraid that we actually don't have anything inside of us that would satisfy our desire to be creative. So I want to encourage you and say, we do, you do. I know you do, because that's why you want to draw. That's why you want to bring something out of yourself in this way, because it's in there. And the very nature of creativity means it is infinitely different for all of us. And that is part of the beauty and joy of it. And it will be most satisfying for each of us when it is distinctly ours. Although there is nothing wrong with being inspired by the works of others and incorporating some of their elements into our own creative thinking, but filtering it always through our own creative processes to what then becomes our own genuine creative result. So we mustn't lose our nerve and go for a quick shortcut and miss our real destination, which is the amazing, worthwhile, unique, and impacting drawing style which is within us all. G'day, I'm Stephen Travers. And as always, whatever we're drawing and however we're drawing it, let's make sure we have fun. I'll see you next time. Bye.